Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I want to show you an easy way to add some decorative element. Yeah, decorative element to your pillows when you have an otherwise plain fabric without having to put trims on it, right? So I'm going to be doing a pillow with a zipper. And I have already cut my panel. I can link the video for you that shows you how to cut your panels for your pillow. And I've already also pressed it out because it's best to work with your fabric without too much crease, right? And so I'm going to get started. By the way, I am going to be using red thread. So what I'm doing here, it can add another element. Oh, a piece of thread that's just stuck to my hand. It can add another element for you if you use a contrasting thread, right? And so I'm gonna get started with my first panel. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and I'm gonna fold my panel just like so. By the way, I'm working with panels that are 24 by 24 inches, right? And so let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put a crease in here. Now I'm gonna be stitching on the right side of the fabric. So this is my right side. A couple of pins in, maybe not a couple, 3 pins. A couple is 2, right? I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I am going to stitch along where I just pressed. I'm just going to open this up and I am going to turn just across just like so, and I'm going to stick a couple pins in. But it makes it easier when I press it because it creates that seam. So I'll go ahead and press. And you guess it, I am taking it back to the sewing machine and I am gonna stitch. I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna fold it just like so, making sure that I am in the middle of where the X crosses. Okay, pin, 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 pin. Hey, and then we're going the other direction. So we are getting ready to insert the zipper. I have a video that shows you how to insert a zipper, so I will link that video for you. Here's our pillow, friends. I didn't have a big enough pillow form for it, so I actually just borrowed a pillow from off my couch to put in there so I can show you how it looks. I am liking it. And this is just to show you that you don't have to have trim to decorate your throw pillows. You can use surface tucks to make designs, and I did a different one on the back just so you can see a different way that you can use these surface tucks to decorate your pillow. And then I finished it off with a little rosette, which I made from leftover trim. You want to make a pillow cover and you only have scraps of fabric? No problem. Let's do it. I am going to go ahead and pick out the pieces of fabric I want to use from this pile. pillow is done. We are making another pillow, and we are using more of my fabric scraps to make this pillow. The only difference is that we are going to be applying a trim, and I'll show you how to do just that. But before we get to that stage, we actually have to go ahead and start making panels, 2 panels, one for the front and one for the back, from these pieces of fabric. Now, in the last video, we did some triangles. In this video, we are not going to be cutting triangles. We're just going to be using the pieces of fabric as they are. So let's get started. To apply this brush looped, it's a looped brush fringe. It's a brush fringe. Most brush fringe has the loops cut, but this one is not cut, it's looped. So it's a looped brush fringe, and I am going to be starting, I am not left-handed, I am right-handed, so I'm going to start on this side here. And what I'm going to do is just let it overshoot the side of the panel here. And then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it onto the panel right around. And for this, you can use the biggest stitch setting on your sewing machine. And with the loops being, with the fringe not being cut, sometimes it does get caught on the presser foot, so it takes a little time. And then brush fringe itself is not very deep. But stick with me, we'll get it done. Okay, so generally I would turn the corner with the fringe, but I'm not going to do that with this because it's not very deep and the loops are getting caught on the on the presser foot. So I am just going to start again by just putting this across and start stitching. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is fit these two pieces on top and then stitch. Okay. Now when you're doing an envelope pillow, the end that you want to be on the outside when you're done should be under the bottom. So I want this part to be on the outside, so it's under the bottom. Okay, so I am gonna put a couple pins in and then I'll show you what I do next. Yeah, so I am gonna flip this baby over, and because my brush fringe is so narrow, I'm gonna have to make sure I keep poking it in when I'm stitching. But basically my guide for stitching the pillow together is gonna be this stitch around the perimeter that I use to stitch the brush fringe onto the fabric panel. So I'm gonna go ahead and start stitching. So you see I am using this stitch as my guide. I'm just gonna keep tucking in my very skimpy brush fringe so that when I'm done I do have some fringe showing. That's it. Now I am just gonna reinforce the part at the opening. I hope you enjoyed this video lesson. I hope you learned something. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. I have already laid out the fabric on the table. And as usual, I am using a piece of fabric sample. And then I am just using a coordinating piece of fabric for the back. Okay, so now that I have done this, what I'm going to do is remove my top fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and fold this, not halfway, just a little less than halfway. I'll get my iron. I like to iron as I go because that's the best way to ensure that you get a good finish on your project. So I'm going to open this, and I am going to go ahead and cut the fabric on the line I just pressed in. I think it's better for me to cut it this way. Now, okay, you know what? Let's put this on. It's better to press on top of this fabric. So yeah, and do that. Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and do a 1-inch double hem on this side here and also on this side. So what I'm gonna do is fold back the fabric 2 inches. Let me get my measuring tape. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna fold this back 2 inches. I'm gonna press. Never, never, never leave your iron on your fabric like I just did. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do the right thing, and I'm not gonna leave the iron hanging out on the fabric. Here we go. There we go. So I have folded back 2 inches. And now I am going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch the double hem. Because what I'm going to do next is just open this, fold it back to the crease or the seam in the fabric, fold it over like this, and just stitch. Get our fabric back. This is the front of the pillow, and I am watching how my floral print goes. So my flowers are going like this way, and so when my pillow sits, I want my pillow to sit on this side. Okay, so I am going to go ahead I'm going to put some pins in. So my next step is to stitch all the way around. So I'm doing a 3-inch flange, and when I am done with this pillow, what I'm going to do is give you a minor lesson how to measure for your flange pillow. I'm going to use my whiteboard and do that lesson. Okay, so what I'm using here is a tailor's chalk. So my tailor's chalk will come out of the fabric easily. There we go. Now I am absolutely putting in some pins. Because I don't want any shifting while I'm stitching. Now I'm doing a 3-inch flange. You don't have to do such a big flange. I'm just doing this because that's what my piece of fabric sample allows me to do. And I didn't want to cut any off. So, yeah. So, all I'm going to do right now is put my gimp trim right on top of the line that I have drawn, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch, right? So let's get started. Okay, so what I do when I get to the corner is basically turn the corner just like so, and then this gap that's here, I just put it down and then stitch on top. There we go. Turn the corner and stitch. And then I'll just turn this end under, just like so, and just finish off. That's it. It's done. Now let's look at how you calculate the fabric for your flange pillow. We are going to be doing it for an insert that is 18 inches by 18 inches. So that's our insert, 18 inches by 18 inches. Let's start with our front panel. Now, because our insert is 18 by 18, what I'm going to do is just put a box here that's 18 inches long by 18 inches wide. What we need to do is decide on how deep we want the flange to be. Let's say we want the flange to be 2 inches. It's going to be +2 on this side, +2 on this side, +2 on this side, and +2 on this side, right? So to get the width, it's going to be 18 inches plus 2 plus 2, so that's going to be 4 inches equals 22 inches. We also need to add an increment for our seam. So let's give ourselves 1 inch for our seam allowance. So that will be +1 inch equals 23 inches. Because we have a square, it means then that our length is going to be the same thing as our width. So our front panel is going to be 23 inches by 23 inches. Let's look at our back panel. Now, the first thing we need to establish is that the only measurement that's going to change for our back panel is the length, right? The width will remain the same. And the length is changing because we have to allow for not only the seams on both ends, but we also have to account for the overlap lengthwise and the double hem for this side and this side, right? So let's start adding some increments. As we said, the width will remain 23 inches. So let's focus on our length. Our length is going to be 23 inches plus, let's start with the 1 inch for the seam allowance. That's 24 inches. Let's take that 24 inches down, and we are going to add our overlap. I'm comfortable with 4 inches overlap. If you want to make it 5 inches, you can. If you want to make it 3 inches, you can. The skimpier you make it, is the more likely that your pillow is going to want to bulge through that overlap. So I think 4 inches is a nice place to be. So we'll add 4 inches to this 24, that's 28 inches. Let's take this 28 inches down here plus our double hem. We have two edges to make double hems on, right? Now, I think a 1-inch double hem is good enough. A 1-inch double hem means that you will have to turn your fabric 1 inch and then turn it again another inch, which means that it will be 2 inches on each side. So it will be 2 inches on this side and then 2 inches on this side. So in total for our double hems, we will need 4 inches. So we'll go ahead and we'll add 4 inches here. And that's going to be 32 inches. So the back panel that we will cut will be 23 inches wide by 32 inches long, right? I am going to be showing you how to make an envelope pillow with bullion French. Okay, I am going to be using a piece of fabric sample. This might just be where I cut it. Let me just measure. 13 inches, 13 inches, 13 inches, 13 inches. There we go. So we are going to be cutting the fabric right down this crease. I'm going to fold it a little less than a halfway. Yeah, that's good. $11 inches, 11 inches. We are good. There we go. Turn this thing down. It's getting mega hot. Okay. So now I am going to cut this just like so. Then I am going to do a double hem. Okay. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and flat stitch my double hem. Okay, I am gonna have to cut a piece of this panel, so I'm gonna try to figure out now how much I need to cut off. Okay, so now I am gonna take this off. That's gonna wait in the wings, and I'm gonna get my bullion fringe. I'm gonna turn this over. Just trying to find the end here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I am going to stitch the fringe on the right side, right across the side here. I'm just going to cut it a little longer than I need. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Cut it longer than I need it. There we go. Now I am, so get this. Just have to line it up. Put in a few pins. Okay. Now my line here is going to be my guide to stitch this side on. Before I stitch along the two sides here, I'm going to stitch the other end. Whenever you can make something easier for yourself, never make it more difficult. Keep it simple. I'm just going to reinforce this area by stitching it again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I am just going to go ahead and reinforce the corners where I cut off the fringe.